All right, welcome back for another episode of Gaming Gold. This is my video game show here on Toy Informer, where I go over those loose video games that you can still find out there and get lucky that are worth a few bucks more than you might expect them to be. Now, last week I just did a hodgepodge of different games with no running theme. This week I'm going back to a theme because the NFL is almost upon us. The season will start next week, so I'm getting excited. I'm all geared up. I'm ready to go. And I figured, you know what? There are plenty of football games that we can talk about here, even on this show. Granted, many video games on many of the different Maddens year after year after year are basically worthless. Let's just be honest. They are worthless. Like after the year after they come out, nobody cares anymore, and people move on to the next iteration, and they forget about it. This has happened the last couple of decades with Madden, but there are still a few exceptions to that rule, and we are going to look at those football games that are worth your time and effort should you stumble across them when you're out there hunting. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this tiny little channel. And if you haven't tried Whatnot before, now's your chance. First-time users, you get that free $15 by using my link below in the bottom of the description. Sign up, free 15 bucks on me. Buy whatever you want from whomever you want. No strings attached, nothing further required. That's it. You sign up, you get 15 bucks to use on whatever you want. So you really got nothing to lose. But if you're excited to see the football games that I got in store for you this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, so here we go. Let's look at this week's Hidden Gem video games. Like I said, we've got a lot of different football games that we can go over and talk about in this section. Granted, many of these aren't like super duper expensive, but still, you find these things for a couple of bucks at a yard sale, it could still be worth your time to pick them up. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised by some of these things. So let's just get right into it and go way back. That's right. We're going back to the start of my gaming history. As you guys know, I'm in my late 40s now, so I go back to the days of the old Commodore 64. Yeah, the first games I used to play were on floppy disk. And yeah, so you can still sometimes find these things out there, just like I said, at a yard sale, at a flea market, some weird, store, or like a Goodwill or something. Who knows where you might stumble across something like this, but keep your eyes out because John Madden football goes all the way back to the floppy disk. That's right. Madden football was way back on the Commodore 64, and this goes back to 1988, 89. So not the early 80s stuff that I'm thinking about. When I used to play Jordan versus Bird, and he had like the slam dunk competition in there, summer games and winter games. Those are some good ones. But anyway, we're not going to get into other Commodore 64 games today. I'm trying not to go down memory lane and get sidetracked here. We're trying to stick with what we've got here. And this is our list of football games. And with football games, we are talking about John Madden football. So let's stick with that. And if you can find a loose Madden discs out there, you're looking at, I don't know, 50 bucks. Not too bad for a floppy disk, right? Again, not saying you want to go and spend a ton on something like this, but if you find it for a couple of bucks and you could flip it for 50, that's worth your time and effort. Now, if you're lucky enough to find it complete in the box with some of the other gear with it, you're looking at this. About 110, 109. Also, not too bad. And if by some miracle it's still sealed, $500. So yes, you're going to get a bit extra for that sealed thing. And also keep in mind, with the disc, the floppy disk, there's a lot that goes with these things. I mean, here, look, I give you just a quick little sneak peek of some of the stuff that goes with it. There was like a wheel chart and instructions that go with this, with that floppy disk, all kinds of crazy stuff that without that, it might be unplayable. Even if you have a working Commodore 64, you might be lost and trying to figure this thing out without these little bit of extras. So obviously keep an eye out for them. Most of them are probably lost to the ages, but still kind of fun to see. And the game itself, even being for a Commodore 64 or 128, whatever machine you might have had at the time, it's okay. It is what it is. It looks like electronic football that's just kind of colored, but Still kind of fun. 1989 was the start of our John Madden football. And like I said, I know throughout the many iterations that came through on the PlayStations and Xboxes, most of them, like I said at the start, they're worthless. They really are. Like you couldn't even turn them in. Like GameStops wouldn't even accept them anymore. They wouldn't even take them, not even for like 50 cents or $1. They're like, what are we going to do with it? Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to buy these. So yeah, most of them can't do anything with them. But as I said, $50 for a floppy disk ain't too bad. Now, but before we get to the PlayStations and the Xboxes, etc., let's look at the Sega Genesis version of John Madden Football. This is particularly the Championship Edition, which was a rental store exclusive. So your Blockbusters, your West Coast Videos, your Suncoast Videos, whatever video store chain you had near you, there were the occasional, rental only type of games. I know there was that Clay Fighter 64 that I talked about in one of the first Gaming Gold shows when I was still doing it just over on Renovision. But here we have John Madden Championship Edition. So Sega Genesis, if you can find this little cartridge on its own, just the cartridge, $51 also, not too bad, $50 or something like this. This is 1992. Now we're looking at it. If you could find it with the box and the manual, 200. It's not too bad of a return for what again is just a random football game that's kind of forgotten about and lost. But this is kind of special because it was a rental store only thing. So finding it would be tricky because you're going to find it basically used. Yes, we do have a new price here of also $500, but where are you going to find this still sealed? Most likely somebody resealed that thing because again, this is a rental store exclusive. It would have been used. The store would have gotten it. They would have opened it, put the box out on the shelf, put the little magnetic strip tape on the back of the game and put it in a lock box, etc. I know. I used to work at a Blockbuster back in college, so when we got the new stuff in, that's kind of what we had to do. And so Madden Football, 1992, Sega Genesis. And again, just to kind of get a little sense of the gameplay, it looks not bad. It looks like what we kind of would come to expect. Yes, graphics get better as the ages go on, but bottom line is the layout still kind of is the same. Like the basic structure, the skeleton, the bones of this thing are all there, from the highlights to the downfield view to the play calls. It's all there from the start. And again, I know it's gotten much more in-depth and much more complicated as the years have gone by, but you can see the bones of it way back in 1992. Now, sticking with Sega, you could also keep an eye out for the Game Gear version of the game. Now, not Game Gear version of the game. We're getting away from Madden. This is a Game Gear football game that is also mixed with baseball. So, sorry if I was leading you down the wrong path there, but this is Championship Football and Baseball all in one cartridge. So you can get these both, Sports Illustrated games in there, 2 for 1. What's better than that? Granted, you're not going to get rich if you find this little Game Gear. And remember, the Game Gear was Sega's handheld gaming system. Their answer to the Game Boy, basically. But a cartridge featuring both of these Championship Football and Baseball, well, if you can find it, it's only $32. So again, you're not going to get rich, but $32 is still better than the $1 to $2 that you will get for like Madden 2008. Like, there's so many different versions of Madden out there that, again, they're unbuyable, unsellable. Nobody's going to buy it. You're going to have to get lucky to get somebody to really bite at something like that. So a real hardcore Madden collector or somebody who's just, because for whatever reason, why would they? Maybe they need to replace it. Maybe their copy went bad. Because otherwise, they would have played that version by now. So why are they going to be so specific to like 2008 or 2009? Unless, they want their Peyton Hillis cover or whatever. I forget what year Peyton Hillis was on the cover, but you guys know what I'm talking about. All right. So anyway, while it's $32 loose, in-box ones sold for an astronomical amount of money. To me, $1,400. And that was complete in box, not even sealed. And then, mind you, there was a sealed one that did sell way back a little bit, but $650. These are some crazy prices. I can't verify that the sales were actually completed, but it looks like they were, for all I can tell. So yeah, there are some hardcore collectors out there because you can still grade these things, and that really changes the game when we're talking about video games. But again, I'm giving you these little extra bits of information just as extras. We're not going off of the $1,400 complete in box price. I'm only really telling you about the $32 loose. That's all I'm really focusing on for the purposes of this show. This extra bit, I don't do that in depth of in deep dive into the research because that's not my focus. That's extra information I'm giving you just for context, and it's what I found regarding this game. But like I said, I can't verify the validity of those sales, but it looks like that's what happened. Anyway, even on the Game Gear, pretty decent graphics for what it is. It was a side-by-side football game. You can see how you got a mixture of both. You got to choose inside. They even had a little announcer team to kind of add a little ambiance to the game as you're playing it. Makes you feel like you're actually going through like a real football game when you have things like that. So, still kind of fun, even on a handheld. All right, so where are we going next with this? Oh, classic series. Classic series. Now, you would have thought the original like Tecmo Bowl would have been like a big deal. I would have thought so. That was like one of my favorites growing up. You know, the unstoppable Bo Jackson plays, Barry Sanders, the Jerry Rices. Yeah, 4 plays. That's all we needed back in the day. But we're not going there because that actually doesn't sell for all that much. We're actually going to the Super Nintendo, and we're going to be looking at Tecmo Super Bowl 2. So we had Tecmo Bowl, then we went to Tecmo Super Bowl. Now we're talking about Tecmo Super Bowl 2, the special edition. Ooh, special edition. Anyway, this SNES cartridge, if you find just the cartridge, $72. Not terrible. Not terrible for a, 16-bit game. If you find it complete in box, well, 162. Also not bad. And if it's still sealed, this is where you're going to get your big bucks. $2,172 because people will pay that premium so they can go and get this thing graded and encased in plastic just for the nostalgia of it alone. Because once it's encased, you can't play it. Not that a lot of people are playing Super Nintendo games these days anyway. I mean, I got an emulator, SNES, that was, got a bunch of games on it. But even looking at this price sticker on my example one here is still on there from KB Toys. Remember KB Toys? $69.99. It's amazing. Video games prices just kind of stayed the same. Yes, consoles got more expensive as we've gone through generation after generation, but look at the games. The games themselves, prices kind of stayed around that, anywhere from $40 to $50, $60 kind of price point to start. Like, that's where we're still at all these years later. Weird. Here's some screenshots to give you a sense of that game. Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl was more the side-scroller one, not like Madden, the up and down. But you still got your playbooks. You can see all the little routes, all the players running. And you had your little celebratory, touchdown screens where you had your guys. Granted, no logos there. They were just kind of generic football guys, not with even numbers you could see there. But yeah, still fun. All right, from here, we are going to go over to Nintendo's GameCube, the disc. And we're going to change gears completely and go with Disney Sports Football. Yeah, Disney. And I know what you're thinking. And you're right. We're talking about Mickey Mouse and such. This little disc, remember, GameCube discs were small, not like full-size CDs. They were like little discs because Nintendo has to be weird, and they have to make their things proprietary and unique in and to themselves. So GameCube discs, little guys. And this little disc, if you find it, $70. Not too bad. Not too bad for a little GameCube game. You find it in the box, you're looking at 163. $163, not too bad. Also, see, you're like I said, it's Mickey Mouse. It is exactly what you thought it was, and still sealed 470. So, decent amount of money if you can get these things with the box and instructions, etc. But 70 still isn't bad just for the disc, And here's some screenshots. Yes, it's like Madden with Mickey. You got chickens and all kinds of different players out there. It's Disney. Right? It is what it is. And it's worth a couple of bucks. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's shift on over now to the Xbox with the Xbox 360's version of Blitz the League 2. Yeah, so this is a sequel edition, but still, when you get sometimes with sequels, they get harder to find. They didn't make as many, and they get more like nostalgia. And it's like, oh, did you ever get to that? Did you ever play that? It happens sometimes with some of these series, and this is one of them. So Blitz the League 2. If you find the disc, $60. It's like it's still brand new all these years later. Again, we're not talking about. I know we've covered some games on the previous shows. We're talking hundreds of dollars, etc. Yeah, I told you at the start. Football, rough time holding its value, but still kind of interesting. Still kind of good to know. So if you're out there flipping through those old games at the flea market or yard sale or something, you see this game and they got, hey, all the games are $1 a piece. It's worth your time and investment. $1 for 60? Sure. Why not, right? You're not going to get much more if you have the box, though. So if you have the complete in box, it's still only 75. But still, the point is people want this game to play it. And look, you got LT right there on the front. $117 if you still find one sealed somehow. Just saying. And again, Blitz was kind of like the NBA Jam version of football, a little bit more extreme. As you can see here, beat down. There's a lot of extra violence mixed into this game, crazy plays, etc. But that's what it was. That was the point. Blitz was, like I said, the NBA Jam of football. What do we got next? So we're going to stick with the Xbox 360, but we're going to move away from the NBA Jam and get more traditional on you and go with NCAA Football 14. Now, just like many of the Maddens, most of the NCAA footballs, there's no market for them, which is just a sad fact. There's very little market for many of these old games, but 2014, well, you can get a little bit extra for it. Again, you're not going to get rich. You find this disc, we're still talking $35. If you find it with a box, it ain't much more. You're talking $40. Sealed? Well, a couple of bucks more at $125, but still not bad considering, like I said, most of these have no value at all. So to be able to get $30, $35 for the disc is pretty impressive for this particular edition, this NCAA 14. And here, some screenshots of the game inside. Oh, shoot. Sorry. These are the Blitz screens. It's very similar, though, to any of the other NCAAs. But 2014 is the one that collectors like to go back to. And we're going to shift gears, go away from the discs, and kind of go back to Blitz. I don't know why I'm going back to Blitz, but we're going back to Blitz. And we're going back to the N64. So with the N64 special edition of the first Blitz game, yeah, this is a cartridge. And again, cartridges are sought after, at least particular ones. Discs could be different, more difficult. You can see scratches. Carts could be a little harder to tell if they still work, but you just gotta take chances sometime. Don't take chances with your wallet, but if it's cheap enough, it's worth the gamble. As you find this thing for $1 or $2, you might make out, because this is $101 for this cartridge. So NFL Blitz, the special edition. Get the box, looking at $272, $292, $295. I'm sorry if it's still sealed. So not much more if it's sealed, but that's a lot of money just for the box, only for the N64. And yeah, classic football stuff here, right? So we're getting a good look. Yeah, they've got the license, so we got the teams and all that stuff. You can see the Eagles playing. I'm assuming this looks like the Redskins. And then we got the Lions down below, Minnesota, Detroit. Fun stuff. Yes, very boxy. The polygons were pretty rough, but these were the early days of 3D gaming. It started somewhere, and N64 was it was the last of the carts. It was the last time we really had the cartridges, right? But with that said, I still like the idea of cartridges, and I still like looking back, especially if we go back a little bit further. Again, I know we're like, why didn't you go like chronological? Well, I just kind of put this together as hodgepodge. It's just all football. It's all football. No real specific rhyme or reason, but it is what it is. A long forgotten video game system. Well, maybe not to real video game fans and aficionados, but the Neo Geo. Yeah, super duper expensive system. I did not have the system. I did have a friend. I did have a neighbor who had it, and games were ridiculous. These games were basically like arcade games at home, and they cost like that. I mean, cartridges back then were like $200 for a game. I remember like the Jaguar and the Neo Geo, like those things were super expensive. Super expensive. I mean, I had my Nintendo. I got my PlayStation eventually. I didn't even have a Genesis. Like neighbor had the Genesis. I was more of a Nintendo kid. But the Neo Geo. So we have Football Frenzy. Football Frenzy for the Neo Geo. You find this weird black cartridge out there. $152. It's not bad. All these years later, $152 for a old football game for a system that you will have a hell of a time finding. Boxes too. You want to get it complete in box? Well, almost $300. So not too bad there. Look, it's only 48 megs. And if it's still somehow sealed, almost $600. So $581 for a sealed one. And again, it was like the old arcade. It was. I know you're going to laugh at these pixels and stuff, but this is kind of what it was. It looked like an old arcade game. So there you go. And they went side-by-side Tecmo Bowl style with that. And again, this is an unlicensed football game, not an NFL game. So you got Cobras versus Vipers, Wolves versus Vipers, made up teams and players. It was just about the football. Just about the football. But as we move on to the end of our show, I do have one more for you. I know I kept mentioning Madden. We had Madden at the start, but we might have one more for you. And we have it in our final segment. Our ghost. Our difficult to find, impossible to find type of game. All right, this one's not impossible to find, but it is difficult. And I know what you're going to say, but it's Madden. Yes, it is. And it is Madden 2009. This was the year when Brett Favre went from the Packers to my beloved Jets. Oof. So you might find different cover boxes. On the regular edition, you might find different cover boxes featuring the different uniforms for Brett Favre. But again, this is a specific edition. Well, it's not even really the edition we're talking about here. So keep this in mind as I point to this loose game. I don't believe there's any difference between the case and the game inside. So maybe this loose price isn't just for the disc. You kind of need to have the slipcase box with it because that's what's collectible for this one. So here, first, let me give you the price. Madden 2009, $252. You cannot get $252 for any Madden 2009 that you have. No. It's specifically for this special release with the pink slipcase for the breast cancer. So they had a special edition of this game with a special slipcase that went over the game. You kind of need that. That's what makes this collectible. It's all about that plastic slipcase. And as you can see, complete in box is $338. But don't let that other number fool you, because again, you kind of need the slipcase because the game inside is just the game. It's not really a special edition game so much as the special edition slipcase edition. And then a new one, you're looking at a little over $600. Game inside itself is just, it's the Madden of the year. It's 2009, solid game. But you really need that special slipcase edition if you want to get those extra dollars for it. So anytime you see, and I believe there was another edition too outside of Madden. I can't think of what it was, or it was outside just the 360. Maybe the PlayStation also had it. PlayStation 2 was it at the time, or was it 3? I don't remember what PlayStation was out in 2009 off the top of my head, but I believe they might have had the slipcase for that too. But point being, look for that special slipcase. You can even look it up on eBay right now. There's a couple that are listed, and they want a few $100s for it. Like $300-400. So you can see the value is still there if you can find it. But maybe you luck out and you find it at a used game store somewhere, or like I said, flea markets, yard sales, wherever you find this weird little knick-knacky type stuff where you're going to find old used video games. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the point of this show, to let you know that there are some things out there that, while you may be looking for your normal collectibles, your toys, your comics, your cards, etc., don't forget this other stuff, because some of this other stuff, it's just worth knowing. It's just worth knowing. And that's all I'm trying to do, is give you a little bit of extra insight into some things you should just be aware of, so you might remember it when you stumble across it out there in the wild. So with that, that's all I got for you this week for this edition of Gaming Gold. Thanks again for stopping by and checking this out. If there's any themes or topics, or if you like it better to be a hodgepodge, let me know in the comments below which way you like this show to go. This is not a weekly show. This is something I'm mixing in here and there with some other ideas that I have for more shows here on the channel. Like, again, I still got to get my card show together. I've got a new show starting up on, I think maybe Thursday. If I get this done, I might get this out to you Thursday. And then I got a new top 10 toys for you coming this weekend on Saturday. Plenty of stuff coming your way. Hopefully you're on board for it. And with that, I'll see you all later with some more content. All right.